Fine, we'll see about functions. So what are functions? Functions are, they are subroutines. Okay, you can call it as a sub-program where you have some set of statements which performs a particular task. Now if you take an example of a printf, printf is also a function. So the printf function performs a task of displaying the data on the monitor. Okay. Same with scanf. Scanf is a function which performs a task of reading the data from the keyboard. So what is a function? A function is, it's a set of statements. Okay, it's a set of statements which performs a particular task. To do a particular task, we write a function. So in C language, the whole software is made up of nothing but functions. So you have, these all days used to write only a main function. Okay, and you used to use the printf, scanf functions which is written by someone else, and you used to write only main function. So that means the whole program, this whole program is made up of nothing but functions. So one is going to be a main function, and this is a special function because it gets executed first. Whenever you run the program, this is the first function gets executed. And here what we have written, you have written some set of statements to do a particular task. Same way, you can have here any number of functions. Okay, so every function is going to be nothing but some set of statements. And every function will do a particular task. Let's take up this function is performing a task of displaying the data. That is a printf function. So another function, like for example, string copy function, which will copy a string from one function to another function. So same way, you can write your own function. You can write your own function. Even that is also called as a function. So function is nothing but set of statements which performs a particular task. Now, what is the need of this function? Why we have to go for function? Why can't we write everything in the main? So we'll just see about that. Now, let's take, you are developing one software. So you're developing one software which is made up of some set of statements. Here you have set of statements, and here also you're writing some set of statements where you have to find out a quadratic equation. Okay. On ABC value. So here ABC value may be, A value is 5, B value is 3, and C value is 2. Okay. Then again you have some other set of statements. Once again at this place I want to once again calculate the quadratic equation. The same set of statements you're going to rewrite here. But maybe here you want to find out the roots of quadratic equation based on A value as in 15, B value as in 20, and C value as in 13. A different value. Again, set of statements, you may want to once again to recalculate and quadratic. So the same once again you're going to repeat. So this set of statements is going to be same in all the three places. So all the three places you're going to write the same set of statements. So maybe assume that 100 lines code you are writing, assume it, 100 lines code you are writing for finding out the quadratic equation, the same 100 lines you're going to repeat here as well as at this place. Now instead of doing this, instead of writing the same 100 lines more than one places, what you can do is, you can write one function separately. And you can give a name to that. I'll give it as a chord. And for this, you can pass the value of ABC. And here you write those 100 lines of code. What you have written here 3 times, you write it only once in this place. So earlier you used to write everything in the main function. So everything used to, now what we are doing is, we have separated this 100 lines in a separate block. And we have given the name for that as an chord. And in the main function, what you do is, you write this set of statements. And here you want to find out the quadratic equation. So what you do is, you call this function, jump from this place to this one. Execute this. So while jumping, you have to transfer the ABC value. So A value you want to give it as in 5, B value is in 3, and then C value is in 2. These values you pass it to this chord function. It will find the quadratic equation. If you want, you can display it here and then again go back. Okay, go back to the next line from where you have got. Then again, you'll have this set of statements as it is. Then once again, you want to find out the quadratic equation. So once again, you can jump to the same function. So like this, any number of times you can call this. So by doing this, what happens is, instead of writing this 100 lines 3 times, you're going to write it only once. That means only once you're going to debug this. Is it not? And second thing is, now when you are writing it only once, you're going to debug it only once. So debugging is easier. And from main, how many times you want, you can call it. That means your length of the code is reduced. If you take this example itself, somewhere around 200 lines of code you are going to reduce. Here, instead of writing 100 lines 3 times, you are writing it only once. That means 200 lines you are. So you can shorten your source code size by using functions. Second thing is, the one main advantage of going for function is you will reduce the length of the code. Instead of repeatedly writing the task which you want more than one places, more than one times, every time instead of writing, you are writing it only once and keep it, and whenever you want, you can access that. So which will reduce the length of the code. Second advantage is debugging. Now, if there's any problem, now if you may be writing one for quadratic equation, one for area of circle, one for printing the data. So like this, you have written multiple functions. So now, if the area of circle module is not working, so if you are not getting the area of circle properly, then instead of going and checking the whole program, you can check only that particular function. So that makes debugging easier. And instead of rewriting this 3 times, instead of debugging those 100 lines, you are debugging it only once. So first is, it will reduce the length of the code. Second is, debugging it will be easier. Third one is, the whole software need not be written by one person. You can make it as a module. So this quadratic module, you can give it to one programmer. So another module like finding the area of circle, you can give it to another person. Displaying the data module, you can give it to some other program. So one software can be developed by different people by creating a small modules and give it to them. And they in turn give it in the form of functions. So these are the 3 advantages of going functions. So we'll see how to write a function in this chapter. Before that, we'll see what are the different types of functions.